Hello, Vodka. Welcome. So today I started by just reading my own code on the UI system. I wrote a UI system a long time ago. It's got menus, it's got buttons, highlights when you hover your mouse over certain items. Just the basic interactive UI. But I wrote it a month ago. It's been a while, so I kind of forgot. And a lot of the code is kind of dirty, so I'm just reading through it right now. I'm trying to think of a better way to write it to improve my code. Game developer says, hi, what kind of game do you make right now? I'm making an FPS game. I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but let me try to enlarge it. I'm making an FPS game right now. If you want to see the latest update, it's in my channel. If you go to my channel, it's probably the first video you're gonna see. So that's the game that I'm working on. And thanks guys for coming. So Vodka says, what kind of stuff you have taught on adding? I'm not sure what that means. Adding? Or okay, I think the question is, what stuff am I adding to my UI system? I think that's the question. Typically, if you think of something like Overwatch or Battlefield, a typical FPS game has layers, and I mean, I guess any game has layers and layers of UI. First you go into the intro menu. You click on click play, you go into the game, and you can press tab, which shows up the entire list of players in the game. It shows you kills, some stats, or maybe you might want to press escape and go into settings and change your mouse sensitivity or display settings. All that should be included in some sort of a, I guess the word I'm looking for is comprehensive UI system that pretty much controls how your game runs. You can control your options and everything. Right now, my UI system only has clickable buttons. I have not implemented layers and layers of UI. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of layers, multiple layers. It just gets confusing. But you do need some. For example, so in my game right now, if I press escape, the menu comes up and I click on mouse sensitivity. That's 2 layers already, and I don't think I want to go more than 2, because I've seen a lot of games where you have 4, 5, 6. It's almost like a web page, layers and layers of UI, and it just gets confusing and frustrating to click through all these things. So while I would like to have the minimum amount of actions the player has to do in terms of controlling the options and stuff through the UI, you do need some, of course. So that's the stuff I'm working on right now. More like I'm thinking about them. Yeah, I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time today just thinking, trying to think of some better way to write code inside my head. So right now I have an event system, something called a menu controller. It's more like a UI menu controller. The menu controller is responsible for instantiating things like the game menu, mouse sensitivity, lobby, whatever UI message that may come up on your screen. It's the menu controller that is instantiating it. So if I click on, so in the middle of the game, if I click on escape, a certain UI comes up. If I click on mouse sensitivity, a certain UI comes up. And the system is set up in a way that whenever a menu comes up, it just resets everything. So there can only be one menu at the time, which I thought was a good idea in the beginning, because I don't want things to be confusing. I don't want layers upon layers of UI, like I said. But then sometimes in an FPS game, you might want to press tab and see your scores. But at the same time, you might have a mouse sensitivity UI window open. And that's where the question comes in. Which layer do you want to prioritize? I think the biggest priority is when you press escape, that menu is probably above everything. When you press tab and bring up the stats, that's still part of the game. But things like your display options, your mouse options, your keyboard options, those are outside the game. And I think whatever happens inside the game should be under that. I mean, so these are the stuff that I'm thinking about right now. Yeah, so instead of just having one menu controller, I might have multiples. The entire menu controller is owned by something called an object called UI system. And I already have something where you can have multiple UI systems. So I might have an in-game menu or some other UI message that might happen to pop up while you have the in-game menu. So that's an example of having multiple UI systems at the same time. Another important question is structurally the tab stats. I'm not even sure what to call it. I'm just going to call it tab stats. Those are really important in an FPS game. But from the developer's perspective, the question is, where should I put that? Is it under a separate UI system, or is it, under a game menu, or is it under some menu controller? I mean, it could go anywhere I want. I just have to decide what's best in terms of manageability. Manageability is really important. So I'm just thinking about those things right now. Game developer says, is it about multiplayer or single player? It's multiplayer. There's also videos on my channel, the recent videos, where I'm playing with a friend. And I think multiplayer is working pretty well. Yeah, let me just post the video link in the chat. So I got 2 links. Well, more like 3 and 4, but I think I'm the only one that can post links in the chat because I'm admin or something. What the hell? Maybe the link doesn't work. It does work. Seems like the link doesn't work. What the hell? I guess you have to copy paste it. But anyways, Vodka says if it's the stat system, then it should be separated. Other way would be making the menu, start settings, etc. They should go on a side and having the stats in the middle of the screen. I mean, those things depend. It depends on a lot of things. That could work. You know, there's no fixed answer for this. For something like a UI system especially, people also have different preferences. I don't like having too many stuff to look at. But then there's also, I know a lot of people that I've worked with, they want thousands, well, you're not going to have thousands, but figuratively, they want hundreds and thousands of buttons and graphics and just overwhelm you with all the UI. I know there's a lot of people that think that's good. I'm sort of leaning towards, you know, less is better. So I don't think the tab menu should be, especially for an FPS game, I don't think that should go with the other options. My cat is screaming at me. 소리야, 문 열어줘? 응? 문 열어줘, 소리야? Anyways, game developer says, do you use Unity Networking, Photon, or some other servers? I'm using my own code. Right now, I don't have a dedicated server, meaning it's P2P basically. But stuff like that, it's not written in stone or anything. So coming back to the initial goal for today, which is improving the UI system. Right now, I simply have a function called show mouse sensitivity menu. And you can receive through an event system, you can receive a message that says UI menu mouse sensitivity, and that opens up the mouse sensitivity menu. And that's it. There's nothing more to it. So my immediate thought is I could just have another message that says tab, and when you hold on to the tab button, the stats come up, you let go, it disappears. That's my initial thought. I'm still thinking whether that's a good idea or not. Vodka says, yeah, I once used Photon as a test. I see it good for testing, but not for a final game. Okay. I've only read some of the documentation and the forums. This is just my initial thoughts on Photon. I don't think they're doing a really good job in terms of syncing. In terms of syncing the animator. The thing about the Unity animator, I think, is that it's really good. It's got decent interface for you to control your animation or animator states, but then at the same time, I don't think it gives you enough data to sync it with all of the computers that are on the network. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure you can come up with a solution, but just thinking off the top of my head, if you're controlling your animations through triggers in the animator, some of the parameters. which works completely separately from the speed of your connection, the timing you send or receive certain messages. So all those things have to be synced. Your character state, your animator state, your network state, and all those things have to happen in milliseconds. And I'm not sure if Photon has control over those things in detail. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I have no idea. But just based on just me skimming through the documentations and the forums, might have some issues. Game developers says Photon is inexpensive, and because of this, I gave up with multiplayer right now. Yeah. I mean, servers generally are expensive. It costs money to run your computer 24/7. You know, and not just running. I mean, you're also taking care of data, a lot of data, depending on how big your server is. Okay, game developer says for one CCU is about $0.29. Yeah, like I said, servers are generally costly, especially if you want to scale. So right now I'm just having some basic netcode that I came up with. Well, I didn't come up with the API, but there's something called Face Punch for C#, which allows you to interact with Steam servers. And you know, Steam has servers all over the world. And it's almost free for you to use if you're a developer. I think if you have a Steam account where you bought something like $5 or $10 worth of games, you can use that API. Or you have a Steam account that you can use to use that API. And once you have your Steam account, that is completely free. The test servers at least, or the test account at least. So I'm not spending any money right now other than bills and my time. Vodka says also, did you play the demo of Postal Brain Damage? It is made in Unity. It's a really cool boomer shooter. I never heard of Postal Brain Damage. Okay, I'm not doing any work today, but interesting. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of these graphics. Is this a mobile game? You don't have shadows. I mean, the players don't have shadows, which kind of throws me off. But I think the gameplay is interesting. I think the textures and the models are way too low poly-ish, low resolution, low poly-ish. Yeah, but I really like the gameplay. This is like this is like Quake style, fast. I really like the shotgun here. It's a hand cannon from Action Quake. I don't know if any of you guys know Action Quake, but so just by looking at this, I really like the gameplay, but I don't like the general look. Because I think it doesn't look deliberate when you have... Okay, I guess that was just that guy's settings. So I'm looking at a much higher res right now in a different video. Yeah, I really like the gameplay. But I have seen other FPS games where they've set up their low poly, low resolution stuff deliberately, and it looks really good. I can't remember the names. I've seen some videos or clips on Twitter, and I really liked them. But it was they were going for old school DOS kind of look. It still looked stylish, but But this particular video looks like the game, it looks like the intention is just to optimize rather than to have a certain theme when it comes to your general look. Benzico says photon engine equals 20 CU free. I haven't actually tried any of those Unity multiplayer tools or assets myself, but just by looking at the documentation, I think I like Mirror. I would, my first choice, and this is just a random pick. I'm just guessing here, so don't take my word for it, but I would try Mirror if I were looking for a Unity asset. But I'm not. I'm not looking for a Unity asset, so this is just purely hypothetical. But Photon would not be my first choice. Anyways, I gotta get some work done. Thanks, game developer. So I just found a part in my code that really needs to be improved. I have some code called listener main UI. It's just listening in to the player action. So for example, if you press escape, if there's no current menu, I open up FPS game menu. If there is an FPS game menu, what am I opening? Oh, I just clear it if there's an FPS game menu. If there's mouse sensitivity menu, I open up the FPS game menu. So this is just hard code that is really messy, where I basically have an if statement for every situation that I could think of. This is horrible. And this is the part, specifically the part where I really wanted to improve. Electrified Production says, how do you recommend I learn to code? First of all, welcome. I don't know anything about your current situation, so it's really hard to generalize. But the obvious answer is go to google.com or DuckDuckGo. So I'm going to go to Google and type in how to learn programming. Or better yet, something like beginner programming course. And you're probably going to see a bunch of courses. So I see Coursera, Python, Java. What else do I see? Coding for Beginners, Udemy. I mean, you're going to see a lot of courses. A lot of them are ads. So that's my obvious answer. What may not be so obvious is I see a lot of people trying to start learning how to code through Unity and C#. That is the worst idea ever, in my opinion. Do not start with Unity. It's more like a distraction for your learning when you're thinking about how to program. My recommendation has always been C++. But the order doesn't really matter. You are going to end up learning multiple languages if you're serious about learning how to program. I think today a lot of people start with Python and Java. I have no idea. But it doesn't matter. You are going to learn Java, Python, C, C++, JavaScript. You're going to learn a bunch of languages. So let me just Google the most popular languages or the most popular programming languages. So I see Python, Java, JavaScript, Kotlin, R, PHP, C, Swift. Unity is not a language. It's more like a general interface, but you do not learn how to code through Unity. You can if you're careful enough, but then if you're just starting out, most likely you're not going to be. How did I learn? I started with C, C++, the traditional, I think. So I grew up in the 90s. I think a lot of people started with C, C++. I started learning in 2000s, I think. I started really late. I started when I was like 30. I started with C, C++. I made 2D games. And then I also learned stuff like DirectX. Made 3D games. And then I got into Unity. So I spent almost a year just learning how to code. And then I got into Unity, which helped a lot. And that was... I did that because I was recommended to do so. I was recommended to not start with Unity. Because I started with something like CryEngine. Yeah, I think CryEngine was my very first engine that I downloaded. And I understood nothing. I looked at tutorials. I also downloaded Unity later. I think back then it was like... this was even before Unity 5. So I was looking at tutorials like how to move your character. You know, I'm looking at simple lines of code like X equals something, your speed equals something. And I still didn't understand anything, even though it was really simple. So I started asking around. And that's how I got started. I literally begged. I found someone locally through some online homepages. I can't even remember his name. He was some vice president of some small local game dev company, and I begged him to talk to me, and he recommended a few things. So back then I was looking into game engines. I was looking into 3D software like 3ds Max. But then what was really shocking to me at the time was You can't build your own game with those things. You need to learn how to code if you want to build your own game. Unless you want to be an artist, which is a completely different path. I didn't want to be an artist. Uh, and he figured that out pretty quickly too. I mean, just by hearing which school I went to, what I'm interested in, stuff like that. It was pretty clear I wasn't going to be an artist. The other way is learning how to program to build my own game, and then later I could always hire an artist. So that's the path I took. I say this because I see a lot of people come into my Discord server and their first statement is, I started learning Unity, I started learning C#. As if that's a path to becoming a programmer. It's not. So, Vodka says, actually, yeah, people start with Java and HTTPS, at least here in Spain. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter what you start in. Again, I'm looking at the top programming languages. Python seems to be number one right now. I don't care if you start with Python or Java or JavaScript. Even C#, if you've never heard of Unity, but like 99% of the people that come to me and ask, should I learn C#? They already have their mind made up. They want to learn Unity because they think it's going to be a shortcut to them to learn how to program, and they want a shortcut to building their own game. That's not going to happen. You're not going to find a shortcut. Electrify says, sorry for interrupting your workflow. It's fine. I mean, the reason why I'm live streaming is because I don't mind being interrupted. This is probably the best live stream interaction I have ever gotten. Okay, that's cool. Thanks for coming. So going back to the original question, how do you learn to code? The first answer is you go to Google and type how to learn programming. You don't go to unity.com and download Unity Engine if you want to learn how to program. You do that after you already know how to code to a reasonably proficient level. I think Unity is only good for you, or any game engine, because there's so much going on inside a game engine. I have no idea. I mean, I have tried building my own game engine, a very rudimentary one. And if you've ever tried it, you'll know that there's so much shit going on inside any kind of a commercialized video game engine like Unity or Unreal. So those things will not teach you how to code. They're just gonna drown you in the ocean of all different things that you need to know before you can even start understanding them. So yeah, start with the basics. Go to google.com, type how to learn programming. That's it, pretty much. I mean, and it's not just programming, right? You just go to google.com and start searching. What else can I say? So let's see. Let's see if I can actually find a course. So I like typing beginner programming course, because you really want to look for something that's easy, that's not going to demotivate you for being, because it might be too difficult. So I'm looking at Coursera. I think Udemy is also really popular. Java Programming and Software Engineering Fundamentals from Duke University. It's free. Yeah, I mean, another thing is I see a lot of people enrolling expensive courses. Like I've seen people, I don't know whether it was a boot camp or not. There was a course for like thousands of dollars, and it's gonna make sure that you get hired or something. Like don't go to those courses. I mean, courses are either free or very affordable. So the first result that I got is a free course offered by Duke University. Another result that I got is Coding for Beginners 1. You can learn to code. This is in Korean won. This is roughly $16. So either free, 16, 20, 30-ish dollars. It's very affordable, very easy to find. Vincent says, what is your first recommended language? Mine was C++, but I see a lot of people recommending Python or Lua as they're beginner friendly. What are your thoughts? Yeah, my recommendation is always C++. I say that because a lot of people, even though a lot of people say C++ or C is very difficult to learn for beginners, I really enjoyed learning. And I recommend C++ first because you really want to find out if you enjoy it. If you want to find out if you enjoy looking through your addresses in your memory, understanding binary and hex and debugging and all that stuff. See if you really enjoy thinking in somewhat binary terms. Because you're not, I mean, human beings generally don't think in binary unless you're really special or maybe talented in certain ways. But you also have to write code which ultimately ends up in binary, so you have to understand how that works. See if you enjoy all that stuff. If you have time, I would recommend going lower level than C++. But I think at the same time, C++ is low enough for a game developer. So that's my recommendation, C++. Vodka says, actually, if anyone wants to start C++ in the more basic way with an open source engine, the best is Source Engine. It's free and open source. Okay, I disagree with that in a way that I don't think you should start with a game engine if you're a beginner. If you can understand and apply or build your own stuff on top of game engines, you're already not a beginner at that point. So, most likely you're going to have trouble writing tic-tac-toe in C++ if you're starting out. I had trouble writing just input and output, like some of the really basic stuff, like you get a message says, what is your name? You type in your name. It's a string, and you save that somewhere in your memory, and the computer types hello and all that stuff. Like really, really basic stuff. So let me look at this course right now. So I'm looking at the intro of a, wait, what was this? Which language was this? I've just been rambling. I kind of forgot. So this says move into learning a dedicated programming language such as Scratch, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, C#, or Go. So this gives you all these languages? But anyways, again, I don't think it matters that much because eventually you're going to learn all those languages. I have a playlist that I saved. It was CS50 Lectures 2019. And this isn't just programming, this is just computer science in general. So, start looking around. If you really enjoy something, you're gonna search different things, and you're gonna find different things, and you're gonna start forming your own opinions. What you're not gonna do, if you're really interested, is download Unity and start playing around with that, because that's one of, I think that's one of the signs that tells me you're not going to enjoy programming. So don't look into Unity, even though I'm making a game with Unity right now. If you're just starting out, you want to stay away from Unity or any game engine. Vincent says, I've had really good and really bad courses on Udemy, very hit or miss. Yeah, I mean, that's just, reality. realistically, like there might be courses that you really hated, but I might like it. Like, so it depends on your personality, your how your brain is wired, the teacher's style. In this case, it's videos. I mean, the way it's presented. So I keep saying this. You want to find out if you enjoy it or not, because if you do enjoy programming, there's no way you're not going to end up looking at different courses, looking at different languages, building different projects. So for me, one of the things that really helped me the most was building a lottery system and a homepage that's integrated with a blockchain. That has nothing to do with game engines or any kind of video game. That's just dealing with data. And I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot from it. I also enjoyed, what else did I enjoy? Writing really basic mud games, multi-user dungeon. If anybody grew up in the 80s and 90s, just text-based RPG games. Stuff like that. I mean, if you're interested, you're going to look at, you're going to end up Googling a lot of stuff. Hamster says, what are your thoughts on C++ books? Oh, yeah, you can't post links. I think YouTube automatically stops you from posting links. Post it on my Discord server if you want links. Vincent says, that's how I started with books. There's so many free ebooks. Yeah, a lot of them are free. Okay, and I'm not supposed to tell you can get most of the books for free if you just search hard enough. Okay, I'm not going to say that, folks. I'm not going to say that you can find most books for free through unofficial means. So again, if you really enjoy programming, if you are interested, it's like playing with a toy. Nobody's going to tell you how you're going to play with your toy. Right? If you're a kid, you found a new toy, or your parents bought you a new toy. You're not going to ask your parents, "Oh, how do I play with this? Give me the manual." You're just jumping in. Right? Or if you're jumping into a bathtub as a kid, you're not reading a book on, I mean, not that books are bad or any kind of courses are bad. You're just interested. That's like just pure interest. And I had that feeling when I first started learning how to program. I was really excited to figure out how to, save your name on some place on your RAM, for example. That to me was as enjoyable as finding a new toy as a kid. And it seemed like I found a new toy at 30, which really excited me. And by the time you hit 30, there's less things that give you that much joy. Compared to, finding a toy that you really like as a kid. So again, first thing you want to do is find out if programming really makes you that happy. If it doesn't, it's probably not for you. As with anything else. Vincent says, yeah, but I mean, the problem I have with courses is how superficial they are. They tend to be copy my code, which is good for if you are too lazy to read documentation, not for true understanding. Yeah, I mean, some courses are good, some are bad, but you are going to find what's good for you if you're interested enough. It's just a hit or a miss. And again, I say don't go for courses that are super expensive, because a lot of them are free. Like if a course is super expensive, most likely it's a scam. Like I've seen people spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on a blockchain course when the information is free, when the blockchain itself is open source. So don't go into courses that are expensive. Find free or extremely affordable ones and go through a lot of them. You'll find what's good for you. What I found really good for me was I found courses that give you a lot of homework assignments that don't give you a straight answer. So what I found really helpful for me was every day a course almost every day there was a course that made me sort of build my own mini project based on the things that I learned. Right. And then after finishing one part of the course, I would be super excited to use that knowledge to build my own game or app. And that really helped me a lot. But again, it depends on your how you learn as a person, which is different for everybody. So I'm just giving you my anecdote. Electrify says favorite childhood game. Doom Wolfenstein. Digitally, Doom, Wolfenstein, Super Mario, those I would say were top 3 that I can think of right now. As I got older to like middle school, I really enjoyed Quake and Action Quake. Hello, Mad, welcome. So yeah, those are my favorite games. I can't remember the playground games that I used to play as a kid outside. I mean, those were Korean. I don't know if you've guys seen Squid Games. Some of those games that were in Squid Games were one of my favorites as a kid. Especially the sugar thing, sugar candy thing. I don't think there's an English name for that, but there probably is. It's just sugar, but there's a specific Korean name for that specific thing that you play as a kid. That was one of my favorite things to do offline. Vincent says, yeah, I mean, I see courses that are like $1,000. I keep getting an ad that's saying make a Unity game with no code. I don't know if you've seen the same one. I'm guessing he's using visual scripting. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're talking about the same exact ad, but I've seen a bunch of ads or a bunch of marketing from Unity themselves that say you can build your own game without writing code. That's a scam, 100%. If anybody tells you can write your game without writing code, that's a scam, 100%. You might have a future where you might have a super advanced AI that just takes your orders. Like you can just order an AI in your own human language, and that AI is just going to build a game for you. That might be a future, but it's not happening today. Vodka says, what is your dream project you never made or ever finish? I think I'm making my dream game right now. I've always enjoyed FPS games, and this is my first, maybe not my first time, like second or third time building an FPS game, building a multiplayer FPS game. I've always wanted to build my own game because I grew up playing mods, Quake mods. Action Quake mod was my favorite one. And you know how back in the 90s you always pull down the console menu, there's a button left to your 1 key on your keyboard at the top left. In something like Counter-Strike, you pull that menu down and you can type in your own script that allows you to do all these weird stuff to give you an advantage without really cheating. You can write your own macros and triggers, stuff like that. That really made me interested in programming and wanting to build my own game. Yeah, Vincent's Squid Game at the start was cool. Towards the ending, it was wacky. Yeah. I really liked the beginning. There was another Korean Netflix series. I don't know if you guys can see it from the outside. It's called DP. It's a military theme, Korean military theme kind of series. DP sounds a little weird. It's got nothing to do with porn, by the way, but the first 2 episodes of that series was really interesting to me. It's probably not interesting for anybody who's not Korean, but I'm just saying what's on my mind. Anyways, I think I'm just going to write a few lines of code for my UI system to make it more manageable. And that's probably going to be it for today. Okay, I'm back to talking. Because Frost Game Dev says, which courses would you recommend for beginners and intermediate developers? This I'm just gonna say the same thing that I've been saying. Just go to google.com and type in beginner programming course. If you already have a language in mind, type that in. For example, if you want to learn Python, beginner Python course might be the phrase that you're searching for. Udemy usually is a good source. Like I see something like $17 here. Just pick one. Look at the intro. If you like it, try it. Especially if it's something like $10, $20. Like, you're not wasting that much money even if a $20 course turns out to be mediocre. So, and again, some of the course that somebody might hate, I might really like. So I'm not going to give you one recommendation. I'm just going to say go to google.com and start digging in. Right? As if you're shopping for a toy. Again, like what I said a few minutes ago, if you don't get the same feeling as you're playing with a toy when you're a kid, when you're learning how to code, most likely you're not going to enjoy it. So just pick a favorite pick your favorite course. Pick one that's got a lot of reviews. I mean, if you have a lot of reviews, I mean, those can be fake, but usually, you know, there are, I mean, if you just look for courses in a search engine, you're probably going to get the most popular ones. So a $10, $20 course is probably going to be worth it. Don't buy a $1,000 course. That's all I can say. Electrify says, any favorite YouTubers? At this point, I enjoy some of my favorite YouTubers more than movies. Yeah, me too. I don't like movies, especially when most of the popular franchises are political. They're way more political than they need to be. So I hate those things. I like YouTubers that are just honest. If you have an opinion, you say that it's your opinion. Don't say that you claim to know the truth. Those kind of YouTubers I like. So programming YouTubers, there's two. Javid X, I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's name, but the author of One Lone Coder, that's one of my favorites. The Cherno is also one of my favorite YouTubers. Game dev YouTubers. So yeah, I don't think I can get any work done today. I'm happy enough with the fact that I read my own code and interpreted it well enough to me for me to think of an improvement. I think that's good enough for this live stream. I'm gonna work on my game more after I end this. Yeah, Frost Game says, oh, they both are C++ and engine coders. Yeah, exactly. My recommendation is always C++. You might disagree with that. You might say Java or Python or something else might be a better choice. You know, there's a lot of different opinions, which is why I keep saying you just want to Google stuff and find out what's good for you. What's not good for you if you're a beginner is downloading Unity and trying to learn C# through the lens of Unity. That's the worst path. Any other path, I have no idea. Just don't pick Unity if you're beginning to learn how to code. And that's all I can say. Anyways, I think I'm gonna end the stream now. Hold on. Okay. I think my own streaming is distracting for me too. So it looks like it's distracting everybody. So I might as well just rename my stream instead of Code With Me. This is more like just talking about game dev. I'm just trying different things. So I think trying to live stream and code at the same time might have been a really bad idea. Yeah, Frost Game says, yeah, you're right. Unity API is built on top of C#, which does not give it the essence of a good programming concept. Yeah, exactly. I think I'm going to put it this way. If you want to learn how to swim, you don't jump into the ocean, right? You start in a much smaller, shallow swimming pool, or maybe your father takes you to a lake in front of your house that's really gentle, that's not too deep for you. I mean, that's how you start to learn how to swim, right? And it's the same thing with anything, really, not just programming. Programming is a little more difficult to understand because it's way more abstract than something like learning how to swim, and the steps that you take as a beginner are pretty clear if you're learning how to swim, or if you're learning how to play basketball, or if you're learning how to do jiu-jitsu. There's certain basic moves that you need to understand before you do more complex things. Programming is just the same thing, but there's a lot of abstract layers that kind of prevent you from seeing those steps. So but don't think too much. Think of something like learning how to swim, or learning how to ride a bike, learning how to shoot a gun, or there's always basic steps that you need to do as a beginner before moving on. And programming is not that different. So thanks for coming, guys. I think I'm gonna end the stream today. I'm planning on streaming every day, so I'm gonna come again tomorrow. In terms of the content, I really have no idea. I started out with the title Code With Me because I've seen a bunch of Code With Me videos where people just turn on their cameras and start coding. But that might have been a bad idea for me because I think talking and coding at the same time looks like it's really difficult. So I don't know. I'll just try whatever and see what happens. So I'm gonna go and work on my game. I hope you guys have fun building your own game or learning how to code. And thanks for coming. Good night, everybody. Or good day, depending on where you are. Peace.